So I'm going to start. Today's webinar is lesser known Google apps for education. This is for the Baconic Teacher Center for the Google Workspace Winter Series. My name is Leslie Brophy. I'm a certified Google for Education trainer. So there are a lot of apps other than the core apps, which we've covered in previous weeks with docs, slides, trying to think, sites. So we covered a lot of them, but there's a lot of other ones that are great for education. So we're going to go through a portion of them today. One of them I'm going to spend a lot of time on, and it's a lesser known one, but it's probably become more popular this year. So our agenda today is to cover Google Jamboard, which we're going to spend a good deal of time on because there's just so much you could do with it. Applied digital skills, Google Arts and Culture. We're going to look at My Maps and Google Earth, which are geo tools. And then we're briefly just going to show you Teach from Home and the Teacher Center websites, because there's a lot of great resources in there as well. So we're going to start with Google Jamboard. If you have not heard of Google Jamboard, it is a great It's become most popular over the past year or two. It is a collaborative online digital whiteboard. For those of you using Google Meet, it is built directly right into it, and that's a newer feature of Google Meet. It is shareable via Classroom, and it stays in your Google Drive. So it acts very similar to docs and slides, where as soon as you create it, it automatically saves, and the files save automatically into your Google Drive. You can add and edit sticky notes. You could add text, images, shapes, drawings, and you can move them around them with ease. You can easily erase objects or mistakes. You could use a pointer to bring attention to an idea. You could edit background shapes, text size, and colors. Same frame as an image. So we're going to kind of click in and kind of look around. I do want to add that there is a Jamboard app. So for those of you who are on a iOS or Android, there is a Jamboard app, and I actually like it better than the browser version. You have some more options to it. I won't be able to show you that in this webinar, but I'll kind of explain some of the additional things you're able to get using Jamboard on a mobile device. Again, that's not through the web browser. So to access Jamboard, we're going to open up a new tab, and you could get there multiple ways. You could get there by going to your little waffle over here to the right, click on it, and you might not see it up on top, but if you scroll down, you'll eventually come to it. It's called Jamboard. Okay, so that would be one way to click in and get to it. The other way would be to go to jamboard.google.com. Okay, so very similar with all the other apps. This brings me to all my other Jamboards. So yours might be empty if you haven't done one yet. So what you're going to do, and again, I'm on my laptop, so this is the browser version. You're going to click on the plus sign on the bottom right where it says New Jams. So every file, as they call it, would be called a jam. Click on it, and it's going to bring you to a blank untitled jam. It's very simple and clear, and that's one of the beauties of using Google Jamboard. So it is not exactly the same as docs and slides, but there is a lot of similarities, which I'll show you. So up on the top, it starts out as untitled, as with the others. If you click on it, then you're able to do rename it, not rename it just inside like with the other applications. So we'll just call this a test jam, and I'm going to hit OK. Up on the top, and I'm going to kind of show you around, and then I'll show you some things that you're able to do with it. So if you click up here, it kind of brings you to the different slides. So if you go to the arrow to the right, you can add slides. This is not like Google Slides where you have infinite number of pages or slides that you can add to it. This gives you 20. Okay, so you got to kind of keep that in mind when you're planning what to do with this. It gives you 20 pages. So if I want a new page, I would just click create frame. You notice this went from 1 to 2, and I go back and forth between the two. If I click on top of it, it expands the bar. So here are my 2 pages. I have some options. I can add another page in between, add a frame in between if I want. But if I hover over it, I get the 3 dots, which always means more. I click on it. I could duplicate it. So maybe I had a picture of something and I wanted to duplicate the slides, or I could delete it. So pretty simple. It's numbered. I could add more in the beginning. I can add end, or I could just kind of hit the collapse frame and bring it up. Okay, over on the right is your 3 dots. I have more actions. So this is kind of, we'll go later, but I just want to show you what it's there. I could rename what the jam is. I could download this as a PDF. So maybe I want to create or design something in here, download it as a PDF, and then upload it into a Google Doc, a Google Slide, into Google Classroom. I could save the frame. So each page is called a frame as an image. So image is different. It's going to be a PNG, not a PDF. I can remove. I can make a copy. So maybe I have a jam and this is collaborative and I have my students in here working, but now I want another class working on it. I can make a copy of it and then have another class working on it or use it for future use and get help and feedback. So the share looks very similar to the other applications in Google. If I click on share, I have the ability to share it with other people. So I could share it with somebody else. I can make it open. So right now it's restricted. It's private to me. So I click change to anyone with a link and I could go inside or outside of my district. Anyone with a link, are you just giving them the ability to view, or I could click on it and say edit. Jamboard is a great document, a great platform for collaboration. I'm going to show you some ways to collaborate. Again, it's built into Google Meet. So if you are a Google Meet user, you can open up a Google Meet, and if you click, and it's just called a whiteboard, but if you click on it, what it's essentially doing is opening up a new or an existing Jamboard. So you could set it up ahead of time, or you could just start from scratch, and it automatically will bring in everybody that's in the Google Meet into the jam right there. So it's very simple, easy to use. So that's how to change the sharing permissions. And if you notice, just to show you, if I go to Drive, I go to my Drive, I just want to show you kind of what it looks like from this end. I'm going a little slow right now. Here we go. Okay. If I go to recent. Oh, I guess because I didn't do it up there, but let's see. If I go, I have to restart. It should show right up in my test jam. And for some reason it's not, but oh, here it is right here. Test jam. It's right up here. So here is my test jam. It has a little bit of a different logo than the others, but it's right here. So I can immediately get right back into it again. Okay, so that's the top piece of it. This is undo, redo. I can click and I can zoom in, magnify in and out. I could also set a background. So there are some preset backgrounds where there's dots. If you're doing math, so Jamboard is great for math. Here is lines and different type of papers. There's limited, but here's a gray graph. Here's a blue. You want to go black, a chalkboard color and go black. Or over here, if you click in here, you could bring in an image. So let's say you want to bring in a Google image search and do United States map. I could click on here, bring in the map and set frame as background. So, okay, so nice way to kind of easily bring something in. I'm going to undo this because I want to show you some of the other options that you have available. So I'm going to hit undo and I'm going to just change the background back to white. Okay. So now over here is your toolbar to the left. So if I click on here, here is my pen, just like you would on a whiteboard. Again, if I was on either a Chromebook where I can touch screen where I could write on it, or if I was on a iPad, I could use my stylus, use my pen, I could be writing. I'm using my mouse right now, so I'm not going to have the best writing capabilities. So I have pens, I have marker, a highlighter, and a paintbrush. So lots of different options. I could click on it, change it. I click on here, and then I'm just going to kind of do some swirlies, and I can write, but obviously I could be writing just like you would as if you were on a whiteboard in the front of your classroom. The next tool underneath is the eraser. So I could click and I could kind of erase that way. But I could also clear the frame and clear it that way. So if I want to just kind of clear up everything I did, I had some options. So that's the eraser. The pointer tool gives you the ability to move things around, and we'll kind of get back to this in a minute when I have some stuff on here that can be moved. This over here is a Post-it note. They call it a sticky. I kind of call it a Post-it note, but sticky note. So this is where I can add some text. So this would be a great way to maybe pose a question or have student responses. So for those of you who are familiar with Padlet, you could use it in a very similar way. So I can write a question here, or I could have student responses here. I could change the color, or I could have it blank and it's just plain white. So you have some options, and I'm going to kind of show you, and then you're going to hit save, and it automatically puts it in here. Okay, once I have it in, then it automatically went to the pointer tool, and I could click, I can move this around, I can drag it, make it bigger. If I click on the three dots, I can duplicate it, delete it, or I can edit it. We'll talk about order later. I don't want to get too complicated. Or I could click on the corner over here, and I have the ability to kind of turn things around and change it. So that is a Post-it note. And you could have multiple. You could have a bunch of Post-it notes, and you have do multiple ones and have people writing their name and writing their responses on here. The next one is to add image. Similar to adding the image as a background, I could add an image that gets brought in and is able to be moved around. So I can upload from my computer. I could upload by an URL. So I could copy a image URL, paste it in there. I could take a picture with my camera. So if I was on a Chromebook or if I was on my iPad, this is a really powerful feature because I could have a student take a picture of a work, or I could take a picture of maybe a worksheet and bring it in. So lots of opportunities with the camera function. Then I could do a Google image search. So let's say I want to do a search for a telescope. And I could just take it. Maybe I want them to, let's do a microscope. Maybe a telescope wasn't a good. So maybe we want to talk about functions. I don't want to have, I want them to be able to take this and move this, cancel. I'm going to click this and I'm going to drag it and make it nice and big. And I might say, okay, guys, I want you to name the parts of this. So lots of different things. Again, this could be any subject area. And I'm going to say probably from grades 3 and up, you could maybe even do things with younger grades as well. So that is the image function. Below it is different shapes. So I could click on it and I can, if I double click on it, I have options for different shapes. So maybe I want to take an arrow. So I'm clicking on the arrow. Other things popped up over here, so I could change color and the border color, but I could click and I could drag things. I have the ability to kind of make it skinnier. I can fill it with a color if I wanted to. I can make it transparent. So you have a lot of options with the arrow button. And again, I could draw a square. So you have a lot of abilities with this tool right there. Okay, so this is a newer feature for those of you who are already familiar with Jamboard. Click on it and you can create a text box. This, believe it or not, was not something that we had. And you would just have to do all text in a Post-it note. So it was very nice to get this in there. And this over here is a laser. So it just kind of, if you were doing a presentation, you could just kind of write it and it kind of disappears, and it's just a laser pointer. If you are using the mobile, you have a good amount more options. Some being that you could bring in a Google Doc or a Google Slides presentation. You could bring in a lot of other documents, PDFs. It imports it in, and you have the ability to grab a slide from your Google Slide presentation, blow it up big, and then annotate over it. So if you have the ability to check it out on a mobile app, I would definitely do that because you have some more options with that. Okay, so that is basically it. Again, you could add more slides. It seems like a simple tool, but there are so many ways that you could use it in the classroom. There are so many ways that your students can use it to check for understanding, show their learning. So I'm just going to bring you to a website. If you're not familiar, this is a great website, and I'm going to go on to some of the other lesser known apps. Canva.com. There is an education. So if you go to Canva for Education, you could sign up using your district email and get a free education account. But if you go into canva.com and you type up in the search and do online whiteboard, there are a ton of templates that you can take and bring into Jamboard. All different kinds of diagrams and whatnot. So, and everything is movable. So a ton of stuff in here. Also, if you do a search for Jamboard templates, you'll get a ton of free templates that you can just take and use, just like you would do with Google Slides or Docs. Okay, so that is Jamboard. Okay, so let's move on. So Jamboard, love it. There's so many ways to use it in the classroom. There's probably a ton of professional development out there for you and the use of it, YouTube videos, blogs, etc. So the next one I want to show you is Applied Digital Skills. So Applied Digital Skills is a free, flexible, video-based curriculum that prepares students for the growing number of jobs that require basic digital skills, such as email and spreadsheets. So this is good more for late elementary. I would say maybe probably from 4 and up, middle and high school, all subject areas. It teaches digital literacy, practices life and career skills. So these are pre-made lessons that can be pushed out to the students, and they work on their own, and you have like a dashboard on your end that you're able to see what they're doing. So I'm going to bring you in here. So some of the sample lessons are if then adventure stories. There's a study skills. I've had my students create a resume, evaluate credibility of online resources, which is so important right now. So to go there, I have a link right here. It's going to open it up, and it's applied digital skills withgoogle.com that will bring you in here. So once you're in here, you have few ways you can go. I mean, if you could just point this out to parents or guardians that are looking to sharpen their skills in Google, but there's teachers. So if I click under the teachers, I could look at some of the different lessons. So there are you could look around at some of the different things that are here, but I'm going to bring you to the lessons. So you can see the different lessons that are out there. So these could be filtered, again, late elementary, middle school, high school, or adult learners. So we're just, for argument's sake, going to do middle school. Let's say that I have them and I want them to learn a little more about a Google app. And I know some of your districts are new to Google. So your students, I'm sure, are new to Google. So maybe you want them to learn a little more about Google Drawings, because that's a great one too. We didn't cover that. So I could click down, or I could keep it more informal. Well, actually, I'm going to keep it more informal. And you could look at all the different lessons that are in here. So when you look on here, it tells you how long it would take the students to complete it. Some of them are shorter, what can be done in 1 or 2 class periods, or this could be over a period of time. Create a guide to an area. So if you go into it, and this would be a great one for you, for your students who are new to Google, using Drive to organize files, it shows them organizational skills. So here's a create a presentation all about a topic. Talks about it a little bit, but if I click in here, it brings me in to the activities, kind of talks about it more. So we're not ready to start it, but you can see what it looks like. So we have activities. It's 45 to 90 minutes to complete. The tools they're learning is searching, Google search and Google Slides. These are the skills that they will be learning. And this is a great icebreaker for a new year, or maybe a new semester. So these are all the different units. So basically what you do is you click, the student will click into each unit. They'll click in, there'll be a video, they'll watch the video. The videos are pretty short. You could also get a transcripts of the video, and they're going to watch it, and then they click next. So they're walking through this ready-made lesson. So this is completely, they're working at their own self-paced time. So this could be something that's done in or out of the class. You can take this, and this is a newer feature of Applied Digital Skills, but you can upload these lessons. If I signed in, I could upload it into Google Classroom, and I could see how the students are progressing at their own pace. So I just want to kind of go back and show you the teaching material, so you could kind of learn a little bit more about it. So there's a lesson plan. There's a certificate of completion you can provide to your students when you're done. There's a sample rubric. And then you could download all your videos if for some reason some of your students didn't have internet connection. When you sign in, I'm not going to spend the time to do it now, but you could kind of play around with it. You could create a class, so you could use Google Classroom or create your own class. You can add lessons, and then you could track students' progress. But there's just so much that students can learn, and so it kind of connects different subject areas to digital tools. So lots to do in here. Okay, the next tool I'm going to show you is Google Arts and Culture. A lot of people might have heard about this, but they're not quite sure how it would fit with their subject area or curriculum. So I'm going to show you a video shortly that kind of talks about it, and then show you a ton of lessons. Basically, it's a website. Google Arts and Culture is a platform where you view high resolution images and videos of artwork and cultural artifacts from partner cultural organizations throughout the world. There are museums. It's not even just arts and culture. There is so much in here that can be across science, social studies, English, other languages, culture, ton of stuff. So I'm going to start this video.
Google Arts and Culture was developed through close collaboration between Google and arts partners like museums around the world. It houses content that can be experienced through a variety of mediums, including video, virtual and augmented reality, 3D models, and super high-res images.
You can search the huge range of artwork by artist, movement, or even a specific historical event. From there, you can browse a selection of high-resolution pieces of art right from your Chromebook or device.
Some pieces, like Van Gogh's Starry Night, are gigapixel images, allowing you to get an even closer look than you could in a gallery.
As part of Arts and Culture, Google has collaborated with tons of different museums. In the Natural History Project, you can use Google Cardboard to see the giraffe at Titan in 360 degrees. You can also use Street View to navigate through the American Museum of Natural History.
My personal favorite is A History of Magic. For this project, we partnered with the British Library to go behind the scenes of their Harry Potter exhibit, including early notes from J.K. Rowling and illustrations from Jim Kay. The Arts and Culture team partnered with Google Expeditions, enabling educators to transport their students across the globe with AR and VR experiences. So whether you're in Melbourne or Minneapolis, you can take your class to visit St. Paul's Cathedral in London.
And in partnership with TES, there are more than 200 educator-created lesson plans to accompany some of the expeditions. Check them out in the episode description below.
Arts and Culture can also be a curation hub where you can build your own galleries, share existing ones, and empower students to create their own for a specific topic. These galleries can have a mixture of content and writing, and once they're complete, you can easily share to Google Classroom. That just skims the surface of all the great content on Google Arts and Culture. It can be accessed on the web or through the iOS and Android apps. Be sure to check out the notes below for some of our favorite projects, and tell us in the comments about your favorite features or ideas for using it in the classroom.
That's a wrap for today. We'll see you in the next episode. Be sure to subscribe to the Google for Education YouTube channel for more EDU in 90.
Want to learn more about Google Earth? Check out our last episode for ways.
Okay, so that's kind of an overview of Google Arts and Culture. So let's kind of dig in a little deeper how it could be used in the classroom. So it works for all grade levels from K through 12, upper level. It could be used everywhere. There's an immersive museum exploration, but it's much more than museums. So I don't want to kind of pinpoint it to museums. You could access great works of art, music, and history, augmented reality, 360-degree video, and built-in lessons. So to kind of show you where you could take students who are learning in a museum, and especially now that we cannot be going on field trips, I want to show you this video because it's just really amazing, and I wouldn't be able to do justice just speaking through it.
Welcome to the world-famous Natural History Museum in London. You're now standing in the Fossil Marine Reptile Gallery. While dinosaurs ruled on land, these strange creatures dominated the oceans. These are all plesiosaurs. Their sharp teeth and long necks earned them the nickname sea dragons. But a far more dangerous predator roamed the Jurassic Sea: the Ramaliosaurus. This extraordinary creature was like nothing that exists today. It used its keen eyesight and sensitive snout to track down prey. The Ramaliosaurus gradually disappeared from our waters and became extinct over 170 million.
So I'm going to stop it. I don't want to go through the whole thing, but you could get an idea of how immersive the feel you get going into these lessons that are in here. Probably almost a little deeper than if you were actually there. Okay, so again, it could be for any subject area, anything. I don't want to go back to that yet. Any subject area. So to get to it, I'm going to click on the link, but it's artsandculture.google.com. When you get to the website, it's pretty simple. You can kind of go around, look for different things. You could do a search. So if you're searching for a specific artist or an area, so if you're doing a literature trip, and maybe you want to put them and give you a visual of an area, or science, and you could bring them to NASA or a certain place in a museum. So social studies. So again, every subject, art, obviously, as well as music. I think the symphony is there. So lots of stuff. If you scroll down, you can kind of take a peek, self-portraits, a scream. You could kind of go in by color. There's artworks, there's play with arts and culture. This is games. These are places you can go to, and there's museums. Play with art on your phone. Here's some more augmented reality. Explore a museum from home. So ton of stuff. Experience 7 cuisines around the world. So there's a ton of lessons that are built into here. So we're right now on the home page, but I could click on explore, and I could look at the art camera. Arts and culture experiments. These are artists kind of create these experiments. There are a ton of fun ones out there if you have time to explore it. Here's 360-degree videos, and I could click over here. Here is street view for many places of famous sites and landmarks. Here are historical events, art movements, historical figures, places. So I'll just kind of take it into historical events. If you were going over the war, this brings me into, let's say, World War II. It kind of talks about the date, and I could kind of go into all these different collections and kind of just explore all of them. So I'll just kind of give you an idea. There's a whole story that goes along with it. So there's tons of like beautiful images that are in here. Nearby, so I kind of can do a search for what's nearby. It'll look at my location. I don't know if it's going to allow me to do it from here. I could set favorites, and I could do a search. So it's going to kind of not let me go in here. So I could click in here, and I could kind of go by area, click on it, and it'll give me information from there. So a ton of ways this could be used in the classroom. And again, it's so engaging for students to experience it this way. Okay, moving on. Google My Maps. So originally there was a app called Google Tour Builder. It was a great way to kind of bring maps and a story together. Unfortunately, Tour Builder is going to be ending in July, so I didn't want to show it to you. But Google Maps is My Maps is very similar. Again, can be used in many different ways. It is not just about mapping and social studies. It could bring a lot of different things, math, everything in together. So with Google My Maps, students can explore the basics of cartography, share information about local communities and far-flung destinations. The map is their canvas in which they can build with points, lines, and polygons, and they can go as far as their imagination leads them. Students can create their own maps displaying all sorts of content. What I love about Google My Maps, it's also collaborative. So this is a great way to bring students all into one map. I just recently did a PD where I did a collaborative My Map, where we did a dream vacation where everyone was in the same map, and they were able to pinpoint where they wanted to go on their dream vacation and add stuff. So I'm going to kind of show you what that looks like. In a second. I'm going to kind of show you different ways we could use it in the classroom. So you could go through locations in a historical event, setting of a novel, short story, or other literary work, calculate the rate of travel, do some lessons in culture. So if you're speaking a language other than English or an E&L, it's a great way for E&L students to be bringing in their culture and sharing it with the class. You could be telling a story or a lit trip. So there's some more examples: holidays around the world, make way for ducklings, US landmarks, the American Revolution, the life of. So a great way for someone to do a biography of another person is to create it in My Maps. Some of the subjects it could be used for: science, ELA, social studies, world languages, art, and music. So I'm going to kind of click in here, show you some examples, and then I'll show it to you. Okay, so this is a great website resource that I found with different examples of how to use my maps in the classroom. So causes of the American Revolution, Canadian cities. So if I click in here, I'm trying to kind of get you in the Lewis and Clark expedition. So if I click in, I could click on the different areas. And when you're going in there, you can click on links. You could bring in photographs. I'm trying to bring it up big. So let me see if I could kind of bring it up so you could see it a little bit better. So as you go to the different areas, you could add images and write things and kind of tell a story, and it kind of moves you from place to place. You could zoom in, you could zoom out. So it's a lot of fun and it's so interactive. So this would be the finished product. So I am going to kind of show you. So again, just want to give you a brief overview of different things you could do. Number the stars by map, the highest peak, island by size. For collaborative, create a non-fictional informational text map, telling a story with maps, angles and measurements. Let's make something. So tons of different ways that it can be used. Oop, let me get out of here. Okay, so to go to Google My Maps, you're going to go to, you could go to mymaps.google.com and get it there that way. So here are my maps. Kind of looks like this, a little different than the other applications, but we'll start with creating a map. So we start with create a new map. And very simple, it takes you right there. So this could be, again, collaborative. So maybe you're looking for a specific area. So let's look up Southampton, New York. I'm going to click in. It's kind of going to bring me right to the area. Then I have some options. Okay, I'm going to pinpoint, and I could be more specific. I just went by town, but I could click add to map. If I add to the map, I have some options. I can change the style. So I'm clicking over here. I could change the style. I could go to change the color of my pin. So we'll just go to a different color, but I could also change the icon. So depending on what we're doing or what the project is, I could change it to a different icon and hit OK, which changes the icon here. And then I could X out of there. I have the option to edit. So maybe I want to call it Southampton School District. I could give some more information in here. I hit save. I could also add an image or a video. So if I click on here, I could do a Google image search, or maybe I have my own video. And we'll do, we'll just go high school. I am going to click on here and hit select. Hopefully it's bringing in the right Southampton School District. So it brings in the image. I'm going to hit save. I could also, again, I could add the image video here. I could get directions. I could also delete it. So the next person, so now that we're in there, I can go into the next area. So I could have my different students going in and picking a different area. So maybe we're going to Montauk, New York. I'm going to click there. It's going to bring me out there. I could add it to maps. So you're kind of getting the idea. So all of these are different layers and styles. So you could have all your students picking maybe where they were born or where they would like to go, or picking up different areas of a country that they're learning about. If I click up here on Untitled Map, I could call this Easton Long Island. I could call this whatever I want. I could give it description and hit save. So once I am ready to share this out, so maybe I started by creating it, I now want to share it out to my students and have them all contribute. I click on share. It's going to provide a link. This is going to look very familiar to you. I am going to have to change the link to anyone with a link can edit if you want them all collaborating, then copy the link, paste the link in Google Classroom, wherever, and now they're all in and they're collaborating. When you are done, you could preview what it's going to look like. And at this point, if all your students had gone in and they added all their pinpoints, you would see all of their information right in here, all in a line where everybody put. Now you have something very visual for them to look at. I also then have an option to do some more detail into this. I'm not going to get into this too much, but you can get the idea. I could then share out this kind of final copy. This is a preview of everyone's contributions together. So that is my maps. Next one I wanted to talk about is Google Earth. Google Earth started as a downloadable program, and it has just expanded so much over the years. Google Earth can be used in so many ways in the classroom. We're going to click on the video link and you can watch just a quick overview of how it could be used.
Morgan and Tim here, back with more EDU in 90. On this episode, we'll look at Google Earth and highlight how educators are leveraging this flexible, engaging tool in the classroom.
That's right. Since its launch more than a decade ago, Google Earth has made its way into classrooms around the globe. Educators across grade levels and subject areas have made use of this tool with students to deepen engagement, introduce topics, and build new skills. Let's take a look at some of the creative ways Google Earth is being used in the classroom. Let's start with Google Earth layers. There are more than 10 different layers, including ones on current weather radar and current global temperature. And in her lessons on weather, Ro James, an elementary school teacher in California, leverages these with her students. They'll begin by interpreting weather data, then make predictions about upcoming weather, and then circle back and use the layers as a compelling anchor point for class discussion.
Another approach to leveraging layers comes from James in British Columbia. He suggests coupling layers with complementary Google Earth Voyager stories. For example, he and his students use the Earth at Night Voyager story as part of their unit on population. As a follow-up activity, they look at the Protecting the Earth's Last Wild Places layer to explore where there's human impact on nature and discuss its implications.
Google Earth can also be a flexible resource for writing lessons and warm-ups. For instance, Sarah in Chicago will share a menu of 10 different international cities with her students and have them choose one. Based on their selections, they'll work in small groups to compare and contrast the locations with their own community in Chicago. From there, they'll work independently on short narrative writing pieces using sensory details to describe what it would be like to take a walk in that location.
Another quick, flexible use of Google Earth is through quizzes. Brenna in Louisiana uses these to introduce concepts to her students and to provide some extra variety in her lessons. For example, with the Ocean Safari quiz, her students are able to explore a topic in a quick, engaging way, perfect for kicking off a new unit or lesson.
And lastly, fifth grade teacher Donnie utilizes a fresh take on bingo. With the I'm Feeling Lucky button in Google Earth, he and his students carefully observe the characteristics of each of several locations. He'll adjust the bingo cards to support and reinforce whatever topic he's covering with the students. Physical concepts by using terms for geographic features like deltas, buttes, and rivers. Math and geometry concepts by observing different types of angles, lines, and two-dimensional shapes. And community concepts by looking at community types and institutions like libraries, hospitals, and fire stations.
Yep, that's a wrap for this episode, but we know there are heaps of other ways to use Google Earth in the classroom. If you have a favorite, be sure to share it in the comments below. We'll see you next time for more EDU in 90.
Okay, so gives you an idea of the ways Google Earth can be used. So just a couple more ideas. You take a tour of a new and interesting places. There is a game built in, play where in the world is Carmen Sandiego. That is like an oldie but goodie. Take and create a literature tour, global scavenger hunts, view a time lapse of coastal changes, map and compare data sets, layer images over maps, measure distances for math lessons, explore the moon or Mars, use Google Earth as an alternative to Google Slides, because and just because everything is built in and you can add text, it just kind of adds a little more interactivity to whatever unit you are teaching. So I'm going to just give you a brief overview of it because I want to just cover two other places. So when you kick in, kind of starts very simple. You could scroll down. There's the Where in the World is Carmen San Diego. This is a really fun game for the kids, creating stories. This kind of walks you through getting started with creating stories and the time lapse. So if I go up, you could just explore the earth. You could get inspiration, kind of talks about exploring different areas, storytelling, how to do mapping, immerse yourself in different areas. There are a ton of resources all built in as well. Resources for beginners to gurus. You could go in and change the category, a classroom activity, classroom story, earth projects, educator spotlight. Let's just kind of go into classroom activity. A lesson in lifestyle, baseball for all, current events on earth. So let's try to find one. Let's see. Well, let's see. We'll do passport to science. You'll get your guided questions. See scientists doing field in the research. So kind of talks a little bit more about it. And we'll just kind of click in here so you can see what it looks like. So here is a PDF, kind of walks you through the entire lesson. Does the science standards, and I believe there's a worksheet in there as well. So here's scientists doing research in the field. This might take a few seconds to load. It's going to take a long time to load. Let's see, we'll get another few seconds. Okay, so here's scientists at work, and you kind of click on the different areas. And as you click on the different areas, it kind of brings you to that place and it talks about it. There's built-in video in here. So you could click on the video, then you could go to the next place. So I click over here, it brings me to the next area of the scientists at work. So this is the coral bleaching animation. There's a video that goes along with it. And then I can go to the next place. And you could go from within here. I could go into 2D, 3D, walk view. So ton of stuff from here that you could kind of, the kids can kind of go in and kind of zoom out. So it's a really cool way to go kind of check out different areas. And again, there's a ton of different lessons in here. If you click on more tools, you got Google Earth. This will bring you to My Maps, Tour Builder, which I spoke about earlier, and Google Earth Engine. The last two are more just resources for you, but I wanted to kind of make sure you had them. So Teach from Home started when COVID started back in last spring. There's a ton of information built in here. So if I click on Teach from Home, the website is teachfromanywhere.google.com. But if you just say Teach from Home, Google Teach from Home in a search, it'll come right up. But there's a ton of stuff in here and a lot of free webinars that you can go to. So here's for teachers, for schools, for families. These are the newest ones. So if you have not heard, Google Apps for Education is now called Google Workspace for Education. I just watched a webinar and there are 55 new updates and features that will be rolling out over the course of the next weeks and months that are amazing. I'm very excited for them in almost every app, from Classroom to Google Meet to Docs, Slides, a ton of good stuff out here. So you can learn a little bit more about that in here. You could go specifically by an app, record your lessons. So there's built-in tutorials. How do I manage a virtual classroom? There are a ton of great resources in here. If you guys are using Chromebooks, you could learn more about it. Live captions, so there are built-in tutorials, how to keep my students engaged, how do I keep in touch with other teachers? So there's just a ton of wealth of knowledge. This is also a great resource to share with parents who are kind of maybe struggling with students at home, trying to get to learn these new different activities, how to set up Chromebooks, accessibility features, Internet Awesome. I didn't bring this up, but this is a great way to teach digital citizenship with lessons that are already built in. So a ton of resources in here. We could spend all day just kind of going through that. And the last one I wanted to go through was Google Teacher Center. So the Google Teacher Center is a free interactive online platform with curriculum created by educators for educators. So I am level 1, level 2 certified. I learned it myself through the Teacher Center. So I'm gonna click in. Do I have a link in here? Okay, well, I don't know if it's connected, but I'm just gonna go to Google Teacher Center. It'll bring me right in here, edu.google.com. So there's a ton of training guides, certifications. There are different programs. Again, I was level 1 and 2 certified. This is where I kind of went through everything from here. So there are training courses. I can go in for new learners to go more advanced, start the training, and it kind of walks you through with different videos and text. Here's different product guides. So if you want to learn about a specific Google Classroom, Forms, Docs, Sheets, Slides, whichever you want to go to, you could go directly to there. So if you want to learn more about Google Classroom, here's getting started. There's a video built in, and it kind of just walks you through all these different things to do. Tips and tricks, how to do everything. Let's see, certifications. So we talked about level 1, level 2. If you wanted to get level 1 certified, you could click in here. My suggestion is you could sign in. So you would register, and it kind of walks you through everything. Follow these steps. You would create an account, select the exam, receive the exam credentials, and you lost the exam. So I would go through the whole tutorial and the course first. Level 1, it covers a lot of different things, not so in depth as level number 2, but level number 1, and it kind of walks you through it though. The course itself, this course is actually more in depth than the actual test, the certification test. So here's an overview of it, level 1, level 2. Here's some programs. So I recently was certified trainer program. There's an innovative program and a certified coach program. That's kind of my next, where I'm going from there. Here's resources, is professional development, lesson ideas, product training. So it's just a great resource for you to have. So that is it. I covered a lot of different tools. You could always reach out to me if you have any questions. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the course, the webinar. Next Tuesday will be the last webinar. We're going to be covering Google Chrome extensions and add-ons. There are a ton of extensions and add-ons that kind of enhance Google Chrome, as well as add-ons that kind of enhance docs or slides or whichever you're in. So that will be next Tuesday, which will be the final webinar. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys soon.